ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Robert Bannon, and you're listening to us on the Broadway Podcast Network, on Broadway World, over on our social media, on YouTube, whatever. Well, listen, wherever. Center Stage Records is one of our favorite record labels. We love the work that they put out, because what I love about Center Stage Records is that they don't only put out shows that are on Broadway or cabaret recordings. They find concept albums. They find up-and-coming musicals. They find songs that theater lovers find, or people in audition rooms find and put in their book, and then they say, I want a recording. And one of those things is Lifeline. Lifeline, the new concept album, is out. You can be streaming it. You can be listening to it. It has some of your favorite singers, some of our favorite guests that we've ever had on the Roundtable. If it's Aaron Lazar, if it's Ariel Jacobs, if it's J. Armstrong Johnson, they are singing their faces off. They are singing for Robin Hiley and Becky Hope-Palmer and this new show. Get it, stream it. It's out now. Welcome to the Roundtable.
Hey.
Oh.
Let me tell you, they're two of the most generous, kind people, because I couldn't log in. I didn't know where to find them. I logged in. We were gone. They were gone. You all are so nice.
Well, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, really happy to be here.
You're over in the UK right now?
No, we are in a dressing room at Signature Theatre where the show went live yesterday.
What? You're at the Signature. I could just walk over to you right now. I could just be there and buy you a hot dog.
Great. I'm actually quite hungry, so that'd be awesome.
How did it go yesterday? Tell us everything.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're running for 6 weeks here till the end of September. I'm saying a lot.
Yeah, we are. We're running to the end of September. We opened last night. We're in previews at the moment. So yeah, it was a good start. We had a really lovely audience, warm audience last night. We got a standing ovation, which is a good start. But yeah, it's a fun process. Previews, being in a new space. It's a beautiful theatre. So we're having a lot of fun.
It's so cool to be here off Broadway, despite the fact that it's so warm outside.
It is very warm.
Yeah.
We're not used to it as Scots.
Well, what I know about the show, Lifeline, is it's a musical about Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin in 1928. I'm not that smart. I read that off the press release. I did not know that before this. But what I know is that it is a topic that in my head, I would not think lends to Becky saying, let me sit down and write a book about it. And then Robin being like, I think penicillin is the perfect musical to write music to. So what is the music? How did you find a musical theater piece in this amazing story?
I think it's the other way around, Robert. Robin was the one that first came up with it and came to me. So yeah, Robin's the brains behind the.
It was actually so my other half is a doctor back in Scotland in Edinburgh, and she trained with a clinician scientist called Dr. Megan Perry. She's an infectious diseases doctor. And she came to me like 7 years ago and said, wouldn't it be a great idea to write a musical about antibiotics? And I thought that this was a terrible idea. But she kept coming back, and she was persistent. And she's, so told me to read this. And I got looking at Alexander Fleming's life and understanding a bit about the problem that we're having currently with antibiotics not working like they should and why that's happening. And realized that this was not only an amazing story about one of the sort of greatest inventors or stroke, scientists of the history of humanity, but also a very pertinent issue that people needed to know about. So that's kind of why we're here all these years later, having developed it, and it's had 2 sellout runs at the Edinburgh International Fringe, and it's been to the States actually under its former name, which was The Mold That Changed the World, a couple of years ago. And then we've done a big old rewrite and a big process of really getting it ready to come here and getting it ready to make the concept album. So it's been quite a ride so far, but we're pretty happy with where we've got to after preview 1 here at Signature.
Mm-hmm.
Well, firstly, the Signature is one of the best places to see a show. It is the most beautiful theaters inside. And I have seen some of the most electric nights of theater over at the Signature. I am so fascinated at the process, the artistic process, and the years of your life. You guys gave years of your life to this story. And now you get to put it up on stage in New York City, literally on 42nd Street in the heart of the theater district. The Edinburgh Fringe Festival, we had a lot of guests who have gotten discovered out there, and we have read about it. We've heard about the experiences of putting shows up there. What was it like when you leave the Fringe Festival and you get the call that the concept album and then a New York run is in the midst?
I mean, it was very, it sort of didn't quite happen like that, but but yeah, no, it's done well then. And there's been a lot of supporters and organizations who have helped us get it to New York. Obviously New York being one of, if not the epicenter of musical theater, it was always a big ambition to try and get it as close to Broadway as possible, and we're pretty close now.
You sure are. And then where does the idea come about, Becky, to make an album? The album, which is a feat and an undertaking all of itself, is streaming, and you can stream it. And we love the record company, and we love the artists that you have on it. How do you go about asking Aaron Lazar or asking Ariel Jacobs to sing a song for this album?
Again, Robert, it's very kind asking me. I had very little to do with that. I was told it was happening. I sat in on a few of the recording sessions, which was a great pleasure. But yeah, Rob met with the company, and
we met Van for the first time when the show toured out here in 2022, and we'd sort of shared with him what we were going to plan to do in terms of redeveloping it and giving it this quite sort of like modern country folk sound that you will hear if you listen to the album. And Van was hugely supportive of that, and also really supportive of the sort of message about public health that the show has built into it as well. And he suggested that, well, we go through some of his contacts and approach some of these esteemed singers that you've mentioned, and they were amazing to work with. I had this sort of bucket list experience of coming over to a studio in the East Village in like April or something, and like producing Ariel Jacobs. Yeah, it was amazing. They were all absolutely brilliant though, and they've like given it like a real heart and a real boost, and given us some really great profile coming into bringing our Scottish cast over to perform the show here. Yeah.
Well, it is streaming now. You can stream. You can buy a copy of it. You can be or download a copy of it, and you can listen to it, and you can check it out before you go see the show, or you could buy tickets, see the show, and then you could go home and listen to it, your favorite numbers on the way home. Becky, I have a question for you. This is for you. How did you find, what about this story that we don't know makes it something worthwhile for us to see? What characteristics in his life and his struggles make this a theatrical piece?
Well, there's a sort of scene, there's a line in the show where Fleming couldn't understand why he was such a sensation, because he became this sort of poster child for penicillin, and he sort of says, I don't understand why everyone wants to know so much about me, and his colleague replies, because you did something extraordinary. You only you would have noticed that, and people want to know how they can become extraordinary. And I think the message of the show very much is how, as regular human beings, how can we do extraordinary things, and how can we fight what is the cause that we're kind of advocating for, which is the careful use of these antibiotics. And so that is the kind of underlying message the whole way through, even though we have very much made it a personal drama as well, both between Fleming and his colleagues and his relationships, but also the kind of modern day story and how that intercepts with his life, to really mirror his struggles in the present day. So, you know, I think everyone can connect to it in different ways, you know, whether they've experienced love or loss, grief. You know, there's a little, what we have found is that everyone unfortunately has suffered in some way in the human experience, you know, whatever the scale. So I think we're tapping into something that people, you know, it's very cathartic, I think, and we like to think it is hopeful. It's also, you know, it doesn't shy from saying what the problem is and what and the challenge we face with this topic. But I hope that we can, give a bit of hope as well.
Well, he saved millions of, I mean, we are all alive because of him. And we all use antibiotics in its many forms. Many people still, penicillin still saves lives around this world. And that is an incredible invention, and what a legacy. And you humanize somebody that we don't know a lot about. Robin, to write songs about this topic, I know relationships are relationships, love is love, and work is work, and struggles are struggles. But I can't think of many words that rhyme with penicillin. What was it like to create lyrics and songs to this story?
So it was actually, it was a lot of fun to answer that briefly. But I think as a songwriter, you know, you're having to find lots of words that rhyme all the time. And when you expand your vocabulary to a bunch of like scientific terms that have got lots of syllables and lots of additional potential to, you know, just a love song sort of thing, it can be quite fun. But we have, Becky alluded to it, we actually, as well as telling Fleming's story, we also tell a modern day story that is told in parallel. So if you're listening to the concept album, you will, and there is a liner note you can look at too, but you will notice that we're jumping between one story and then the next story with each track that goes along. And as the show comes to its climax, halfway sort of into the second act, these worlds start merging together a bit. So there's, on the flip side, from the writing point of view, there was this opportunity to write something that sounded really contemporary as well, and was very much like what a modern, like any of us would be saying. At the same time, trying to marry it up with vocabulary from 90 years ago as well. So it's been a challenge. There's been a lot of stuff that's been thrown out, you know, along the way. But yeah, hopefully
all for the best, all for the good.
Hopefully your listeners will enjoy what's been created.
Well, what I want the listeners to know is that not only can you listen to it no matter where you are in the world, but my New York friends that are here watching us on Broadway World or on the Broadway Podcast Network, you can see it, a live, actual big old production over at the Signature, which is, you know, you talk about off-Broadway is where artistic license is given, where you can make an experiment and really have original musicals be seen in New York City. Becky, when you got to New York and you walked into the theater, and Robin, when you walked into the theater the first time you had your first rehearsal here in New York City, is it terrifying? Is it exciting? Like, what are the adjectives that you use to describe what it's been like to get to this preview?
I mean, it terrifying. Yeah, I mean, it is nerve-wracking, but it's also, we've been welcomed really well here. I mean, everyone's been very kind, and we've got an amazing chorus of medical professionals that have kind of joined us on this journey, and actually having them as locals, and a lot of them know the area very well. That has also been a really lovely thing. So when we all kind of went in together, you know, the first time, I mean, it is a really intimate space as well, and it does feel very welcoming and intimate for the story. So it was quite wonderful. I walked home last night after the show, and I walked to the subway, and it was just a wonderful thing to leave our theatre that we, you know, and kind of just enjoy the hustle and bustle of the city. It's been quite an experience, unlike anything I've experienced before.
I love that. It's moving to me because I have had friends who have written musicals who have spent decades, you know, working on the maybe it will happen. And then, you know, it's so rare that the percentage of people who actually get to write a musical and have it be up in New York City is a win. No matter, it's a win. It's already a win. Robin, when you go see the show, when you try to sell the show, when you try to get people to buy tickets, sometimes maybe people get scared that they're not smart enough, or it's too scientific, or it's too in the weeds for them to get. Why should this show is for everyone? Why should an average person come see? You don't have to be a neuroscientist or a pharmacist.
No, you don't. No.
Who's the show for?
It's for, I mean, it's for everybody. Yeah. Like it tells this modern day story is a story that could happen to anybody. Fleming had this amazing life, but it was a life that came from the sticks in the Scottish Highlands. And he served in the Second World War alongside a bunch of other young men, and he was a private. It's all very like, yeah, it is stories for everybody.
So was it you? I don't know. Someone said to me last night, they said it's got everything. It's got love, it's got death, it's got war, it's got science. You know, it covers a lot of bases.
It does. We
pack a lot in.
Yeah.
And it's got story and music, everybody. An original score, original theater score, an original book that is out and is brand new. What do you both think about the idea of art? We live in a world where there is, that's very vague. What I'm saying is, like, there's so many movies that get turned into musicals. There's so many books that we know that get turned into musicals, and the original musical in the United States, at least, has become rare. It's been hard. Why was it something for you, Robin, that you decided to take this idea that has not been on stage before? You're not adapting it from a feature film and write an original musical?
I guess it's something that I'd always wanted to do. I'd run a theatre company in Edinburgh for a while. I'd had things on at the Fringe before. I'd done a lot of outreach work with schools, and just something that came along. And I guess at the very beginning of writing it, I didn't necessarily think that this was going to be the project that got me here, sort of thing. And as more opportunities have arisen with this project, we've tinkered and rewritten, and if we compare what's going on stage tonight at Signature to what first went on stage at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2018 or whenever it was, it basically, there's nothing left. So like in what one side of my head says, it's all amazingly exciting, and we're championing this new bit of writing, etc. But the other side thinks of the big long journey that's been to get here. Yeah.
Well, now that you're working with this cast, now that you're in New York City, Becky, tell us a little bit about the cast. What has it been like to work with the cast that's getting on stage with you over these weeks?
We're so lucky. We auditioned a lot of amazing people, and we have a kind of shiny West End cast. A lot of them are native Scots, which is really exciting, and we really are showcasing the best of Scottish theatre performers, and they've been very amenable to changes. It's still a process. It's been changing a lot as we've rehearsed it quite quickly. So they've been amazing at doing that, and I do think that without them, it would feel, I think it's unique. It really is. We haven't shied away from giving everyone a flavour of Scotland and of the world of Scotland, both in the dialect and in the music style, and they perform it beautifully. A lot, but merged with our amazing New York medical chorus. So it is a merging of worlds in that sense as well. They all tell true stories of medical professionals, which have been weaved into the show in the script. So you kind of go from a moment with Jess or with Fleming, our kind of two storylines, and then you get thrown into a hospital department that could be anywhere in the world with this chorus. So I mean, that is the unique aspect of the show that has always existed through all of the versions that Rob has done thus far, and will continue to, because it is the most wonderful thing. It really is.
Well, coming out of what we all the world experienced in 2020 and through the COVID pandemic, and seeing what advances have been made in medicine, and seeing how the idea of some of the most basic, what we think of basic medicine that's healed the world, how it started, and the journey, and that it's got to be fascinating. I hope that people, no matter where you are, can stream the album and get ready for this show to continue. I hope if you're in the tri-state area, or you're coming to New York or visiting New York over the next few weeks, you check it out at the Signature. What is the best way for people to get tickets?
LifelineMusical.com.
LifelineMusical.com, and it'll be right underneath us, and there'll be a link right underneath us below. So if you read the text below us, go to LifelineMusical.com and get your tickets. I love things at the Signature because you can get an affordable ticket. You don't have to break the bank. You don't need $400 to see a show. You can go right over to LifelineMusical.com and check out a show before it continues and goes. Who knows what's next? Congratulations to you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to hear you talk about the years you put into the show, and to find the musicality and the theatricalness in anything. So it reminds us that there's so many stories yet to be told. So thank you for telling this one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Yeah.
Lovely to meet you.
It's been a real pleasure.
So nice to meet you. Welcome to New York.
Thank you. Yeah.